We're 2 weeks into the new season, but not every team, not every striker is up and firing. Harry Kane always got stick for this. Wayne Rooney and plenty of other strikers from the past have been on the record saying this is something they struggle with. So let's take a look at the slow start strikers in the world. So why does Harry Kane actually get a bad rep in the media for how he starts his seasons? Is it a matter of him not being in shape? Is it a matter of dumb luck? Let's look into it. So despite scoring 213 goals in 317 games for Tottenham, Harry Kane somehow managed to not score a goal in August for over 1,000 minutes. Now, there's no way something like this can happen. I don't care how much variance, I don't care who the opponents were, happens without a reason. And it would be acceptable for me back in the old days where there's no sports science, there's no diets, there's no physicians looking after everyone's body 24/7. But in this modern era, it became borderline inexcusable, and that's why it was a joke. So I have 3 theories on how this might be for Harry Kane, the sad reality, alright? He's not a traditional 9. This is theory number 1. He's not a traditional number 9, and that means it's harder for him to, decide when to make his runs, when to drop off, and actually take the number of shots it's going to take for him to get there. Theory number 2. Now, I feel like Tottenham specifically, this club is the situation where meshing with your teammates has actually been a struggle. Every season there's a new winger, every season there's a new guy to support Harry Kane. Apart from Heung-min Son, we haven't seen a consistent number 2, the Robin to the Batman, whatever you want to call it. We haven't seen that consistent figure for long enough. Theory number 3. Now, I know a lot of you are not as soft and loving towards Harry Kane as I am, but he's a bit burdened. He's a bit burdened both tactically and physically, and I guess that is the one thing. I know I said sports science is a big thing, but if there was a player that Tottenham has run down more than they've needed to, more than they should have, it's Harry Kane. And look, the numbers are cute. It's good to talk about what's happened in the past, but we've got another example now. Harry Kane versus Wolfsburg for Bayern happened last night. Let's watch it through and see how he actually did. And I know a lot of people right now, that they'll watch this game and think, is that a bad Harry Kane, or is that just who Harry Kane is after watching the Euros? But please bear with me, viewer discretion is advised. That this could be just an average 5 out of 10 performance. Alright, so we're about 5-6 minutes in, and when you watch Harry Kane and you think to yourself, what are you doing in midfield? Thankfully, we haven't had one of those moments. It looks like, I hope Vincent Kompany has had a word, and he is occupying that final line. He's played a couple of balls through for the wingers, as he loves to do, but in possession, out of possession, he is up there. He's up there, and he looks more comfortable than whatever shit show you got at the Euros. Okay, so just as I said that, he's now just doing what he does, being a good man. Being a good man is how I would like to put it, but a lot of people would say being out of position. He's tracking back as the right winger right now in the rotations. Alright, so we're about 10 minutes in, and I am so proud of Harry Kane. All of your tweets, all of your slander has worked, okay? Something that we all criticize him for is dropping deep and not being there in the box when it matters. The best version of Harry Kane is able to do both. He's able to drop in, make a dummy run, and then follow through once that ball's played over the top to anyone else. And to be honest, this is the best I've seen him move in a long time. Okay, that Euros was a horror show, and I hope it's a blip, but he's moving fine here. Maybe it's the Bundesliga tax. I'll let the real Bayern fans let me know, is this the Harry Kane you get in, week out? Because I think England fans have a right to be jealous. After watching him versus Wolfsburg, 2 assists, mobile, proper number 9 positioning, this looks like everything Vincent Kompany will want from Harry Kane in the future, okay? And as I said, England fans should be very jealous right now. It feels like Harry Kane's well and truly over his August slow start to the season. And this is a season where it could easily have been the case, coming off the back of the Euros, coming off the back of a really long season with Bayern, fighting through in all comps, through to the semis of the Champions League. Every reason for that trend to continue, and it hasn't. So let's define what the other slow strikers in the world really look like right now. Obviously, we can talk about the guys that aren't getting enough goals, but I hinted to it earlier. To me, the biggest indication of a striker that isn't playing well in August is not one that's not scoring goals, it's one that isn't taking shots. It's one that isn't making the movements inside the box, that isn't nifty with it to get free, to get the space you need to launch some shots on target. Aside from the goals and the shots, I think the biggest indicator in the public, in the media about strikers that start slow, it's about wins. Whether you like it or not, the narrative in the media will always be about strikers getting wins over the number of goals, and that's where Harry Kane sadly does not shine. Okay, and I felt that as a Man United fan last few seasons, last 9-10 seasons now, we haven't won our first 2 games in a row, and there's always a discussion. There's a discussion about who should be on penalties. Should it be Rashford or Pogba? There's a discussion on why isn't Højlund there, and why is Højlund in this massive slump right now. There's a question on the body language of Martial. These are the sort of criticisms that are so easy to get if you are a big club and you do have that poor start. So let's look into it. Let's look into who fails each of these 3 criteria from last season and figure out who that culprit is for the slow start striker. Alright, so we just spent the good part of 40-45 minutes looking into the strikers from last season in the Premier League, okay? The 5 best strikers were Haaland, Watkins, Solanke, Isak, and Heung-min Son. Between these 5 guys, we need to name the culprits. The culprit for the least goals in August, that one goes to Ollie Watkins and Heung-min Son, alright? Both of these guys score 0 goals in the month of August, and if it wasn't for the success they had later on in the season, we'd talk about this a lot more. Also with these sides, and this is something that I'm going to talk about a bit later, not really much expectation going into the season. I don't care how much money Villa spends, I don't care how nice the Tottenham Stadium is, it's not the same as other clubs. In terms of shots, okay, and this one was interesting, Isak, okay, at Newcastle only had 4 shots in the first 3 games of the season, and when you look at that compared to the other guys, look at Haaland right now, okay, 16 shots in the Premier League just in the first 3 games, an absolute onslaught. This is someone who we will never accuse of starting slow. Even this season you've seen the early hat-trick. In terms of wins, now this is a little bit of an unfair situation, but again it goes back to the expectation. Solanke finishes top 5 in terms of strikers for the Golden Boot, doesn't win one of his first 3 games. Only this season will you see any sort of criticism. I guess the player that we did see that criticism for was Rasmus Højlund, who didn't manage, unfortunately, to make it to the top 5 list. Alright, so there you have it, the culprits from last season. Can you guys let me know though who there is this season that you have an eye on and sort of think they're past it, they're not really up to it in August, and who will be this season's slow start striker?